Hey guys, welcome to Age of Wonders Planetfall unit unboxing. This video looks at the Assembly Scavenger unit. So the Scavengers are the core light infantry unit of the Assembly Army. It's kind of an interesting twist on a couple sort of genre tropes. I'm not a huge fan of the unit models specifically here. For some reason, I mean, they look alright, I guess, but they're just not my taste. They're kind of very detailed and I don't know, just not my favorite of the bunch. Um, but anyways, so out of the box they come with 2 armor and 40 health, and they're so the 2 armor obviously makes them pretty suitable for melee combat, which as we're going to see is the best way to approach how to use these guys. They're cyborg units, which gives them an inherent resistance to status effects, a 10% resistance, but also there's some opportunity for other game mechanics to interact with cyborg units. In some ways, they kind of are similar to mechanical units, but without the base weakness of arc channel damage. In this case, these guys actually have arc channel resistance, which is nice. Let's look at the skills. So first up is Claw Slash. So this is the melee version or melee flavor of the Scavenger active ability. So obviously it's 1 hex range, it's a melee skill, 10 kinetic damage repeating, high impact stagger, and it has an additional aspect on it, which is assimilate, which is essentially for every attack that you land on an enemy, every melee attack, if it's a non-mineral, non-ethereal unit, you're going to gain 3 health for each attack. So if you repeat your attacks 3 times and all 3 hit, then you'll heal for potentially 9 health, which is really nice. So you could be fooled into thinking this doesn't sound that great, but trust me, in practice, this is really pretty effective ability. And when you combine it with their other passive ability, which is Scavenge Spare Parts, which heals them for 6 health automatically after each combat, you'll find that these guys basically can self-sustain without a traditional healing support unit. So what that lets you do is build stronger armies because you don't necessarily need to kind of waste one of your 6 slots on a unit that's primarily focused on healing other units, because these guys are for the most part going to soak up a bunch of damage and also heal themselves through these 2 mechanics. But so Claw Slash is really good. It's damage and repeating what you'd expect, but the high impact stagger is obviously really nice, as I've said before. Stagger is a key part of the tactical combat in this game. Next up is the shotgun. This is the ranged option for Scavenger active abilities. So it does good damage. It does 16 kinetic damage. It's single action, 5 hex range, 90% accurate, and it also does a high impact stagger. So either way you're attacking units with this unit, you're getting that high impact stagger. So that's really nice. Very important to make use of that as best you can, and also keep an eye out for units that have stagger resistance and which won't be affected by this unit's built-in stagger method. So what I like about this skill so much is that it gives you a better option in almost every case than as you're approaching your enemy than using defensive mode, because really you almost want your scavengers to take damage. You don't want them obviously to take lethal damage, but you do want them to take damage, because as soon as they get to close in, probably on the next turn, or even after the combat's done, they're going to heal themselves. So to get the most out of the design of this unit, you almost never want to be in a defensive posture with this guy. You want to be basically running them straight into the enemy. If you need to deal with aerial units, flying units, etc., then obviously your shotgun's your only choice. But if not, then you want to be getting the scavengers right up into melee combat against your enemy and letting them go to work. So yeah, it's great that both of their attacks have stagger built in. That's really what makes this unit strong, in my opinion, combined with its built-in self-sustainability. Let's talk about the progression of the unit. So it's straightforward, like we've seen with other units. For tier 1, you get 4 health and 4 health, 5 accuracy, 4 health again, and then you get 4 health, 5 accuracy, and prime rank critical. So here the health is the nice bonus that we really look forward to. Having a bigger health pool means these units are easier to keep alive and therefore will be healing themselves more often. Prime rank critical is a good one because, again, you're going to be using this unit to inflict damage almost all the time, so better chances of criticals is obviously great. The main trick, as I'll kind of mention on the next slide, is it's sort of a thin line between being reckless with these units and also, where you're going to actually lose them versus finding the sweet spot of having them in and getting them in and out of battles sustainably, where they're pretty much, they never need to necessarily be on full hit points, but you don't want to be losing them. So you have to kind of find that balance of how much to use them, how much to be in combat. Being in combat generally is what you want these guys to do. They don't really offer any other value, so they're inexpensive to begin with, but you're probably going to be modding them, so keep that in mind. Again, you're not going to want this to be a throwaway unit. You can certainly play a playstyle that does make this a throwaway unit, but that's not the way I've used them, and I think they're worth keeping alive. So for tactics, again, as I just mentioned, it's basically intended to be a unit that's going to be in combat pretty much all the time, as much as possible, staying alive, healing themselves. I actually prefer defensive modifications primarily on these guys. They do a decent bit of damage, and they've got the built-in stagger. So for the most part, offensively, they hit pretty well. Keeping them alive, allowing them to soak up damage and stay in combat longer, I think is valuable, and what seems to have worked for me so far with this faction. Again, I kind of laugh because as I was writing this, I think about sometimes I'm sort of OCD wanting all my units to be at full hit points. It just feels good when your army's bopping around with full hit points and you feel like you're kind of invincible. That's really not the way this unit is intended to be played, so just keep that in mind. One other thing, so again, kind of in the same vein though, as on a more tactical level, you kind of want to use these guys in groups of at least 2 or 3, and that way you can sort of throw them into perilous situations, and a lot of times you'll notice the AI isn't as efficient as finishing these guys off. Combining multiple attacks from their units on one unit to kill it off versus spreading them out. So I've found that having, rushing 3 of these guys in, for instance, is more effective than just one of them with support units or Vorpal snipers or whatever behind them, because a lot of times they can't survive indefinitely, and if they get swarmed on by the enemy, they're likely going to die. So you kind of have to find the balance. Once you do, though, you'll see this unit pretty much is a very bread and butter unit. It's effective. And once you mod it a bit defensively, it should be even easier to keep alive and to keep adding value to your army. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. That's it for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think for the most part the feeling in the Planetfall community is that these are a pretty good unit, but I'm interested to see what other people think. Thanks for watching the video.